Welcome back, guys. Happy Monday. Today we're going to be doing our deck building video. So first of all, every Pokemon deck in the TCG has to have 60 cards exactly to be considered legal for tournament play. You can have as many Pokemon as you want, but you can only have up to 4 of any given card. So I have 4 Raging Bolts here because my deck is based off of Raging Bolt, and I wanted the maximum I could have. It's generally accepted that it's good to have between 10 to 15 Pokemon that you're using. So I'm running a Koraidon EX, Raging Bolt, Garganacl, Mew EX, Fezandipiti EX, Executor EX, and Iron Hands EX, as well as 4 Teal Mask Ogerpon EXs and 1 Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX, although those have yet to arrive. You can also have as many trainer cards as you want, but only 1 Ace Spec, which are these purple trainer cards. They're generally a lot more powerful than traditional trainers, and yeah, you can only have 1 Ace Spec. To start out, we're going to talk about our damaging Pokemon. So, our primary damager, as I said, was Raging Bolt EX. We're using Raging Bolt for this move. It has Bellowing Thunder. You may discard any amount of basic energy from your Pokemon. This attack does 70 damage for each card you discarded in this way. So basically our goal is to get as many energies attached per turn as possible. That's why we're using our Ogerpon Teal Masks, because they have an ability that lets you attach a grass energy to each of them per turn without using up your single energy attached that you get every turn by default. That's also why we're using these 2 Pokemon as support cards, because their abilities both let us get energies out of our discard pile and onto our Pokemon. So even though Koraidon EX can do 220 damage on its own, we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be saving these energies for discarding to do as much damage as possible with our Raging Bolt. Now for our secondary damager, I have 2 Iron Hands EX. This Pokemon is very useful against less powerful non-EX Pokemon because it only does 160 or 120 damage, but if you use Ampu very much to get a knockout, it lets you take an extra prize card for the Pokemon you knocked out. So EXs, as you can see from the Pokemon EX rule, when an EX is knocked out, your opponent takes 2 prize cards. But when a standard Pokemon is knocked out, your opponent only takes 1. Knocking out a standard Pokemon with Iron Hands would allow you to take 2 prize cards instead. So that's why we're using that. Then our kind of balance Pokemon, it's offensive and defensive, is Alolan Executor EX. Its move Tropical Frenzy does 150 damage for pretty good damage output, although it also lets you attach any number of basic energy cards from your hand to your Pokemon. So basically, it sets up Raging Bolt's attack by letting you get as many energies attached as you can. And then its secondary attack, Swinging Sphere, is Flip a Coin. If heads, knock out your opponent's active basic Pokemon. If tails, knock out one of your opponent's benched basic Pokemon. So that's a very powerful attack because, as you can see here, many Pokemon EXs are basics. So if our opponent has powerful Pokemon EXs on their bench or in their active spot, Alolan Executor can easily take care of those. Then next, for support, I already mentioned Garganacl and Koraidon EX, but we have a Mew EX for its ability to restart. Once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 3 cards in your hand. This is really useful because we're going to be doing a lot of discarding in this strategy. As you can see from Raging Bolt's first move, discard your hand and draw 6 cards. This is to get all of our energy set up in our discard pile so that we can use Garganacl and Koraidon to get them out. We're also using Pheasantipity for support. We're not going to be using its attack at all, but its ability Flip the Script is once during your turn, if any of your Pokemon were knocked out, during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 3 cards. So basically, if one of our Pokemon gets knocked out, the next turn that we have, we can draw 3 extra cards, and that gives us a chance to kind of get back at our opponent. In order to use our damaging Pokemon, we need energy cards, as you can see from these symbols next to the moves. This means an electric energy and 3 energies of any color. These are called colorless energies, or normal type. So with our Iron Hands EXs, we have 4 electric energy, because we only have 2 of them. And any extras can be used on Raging Bolt. With our Alolan Executor, it takes water and grass energies, so we have 2 water, because this is the only Pokemon that takes water energies. And we have 6 grass, because we're going to be having that Teal Mask Ogerpon, which takes grass energies. Then, last but not least, we have 6 fighting energies for Koraidon and Raging Bolt, so that we can keep them fully stocked up. And we're running 4 Raging Bolt EXs. Then as far as trainer cards go, the goal of our trainer cards is to give our Pokemon the best chance at surviving and knocking out our opponent's Pokemon. We already talked about Prime Catcher. Oh wait, no, we didn't. We talked about A-Specs. The A-Spec we chose is Prime Catcher, which allows us to switch our opponent's benched Pokemon, one of them of our choosing, to the active spot, and switch one of our benched Pokemon into our active spot. This way we can quickly move one of our Pokemon into play to disrupt the opponent's strategy and get rid of maybe an annoying support Pokemon or a damager that's not fully set up. Like, if my opponent had Raging Bolt EX, but they didn't have any energies attached yet, I might want to bring Raging Bolt into their active spot so that I could knock it out with a Pokemon I brought out before it was ready to be used. Next up, we have 1 Pal Pad. I'm probably going to add another after my next tournament, depending on how it goes, which lets you shuffle 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your deck. The main reason we have that is for these supporters, Professor Sada's Vitality. What these do is it lets you pick 2 of your ancient Pokemon and attach a basic energy from your discard pile to each of them, and then draw 3 cards. Our main damager, Raging Bolt EX, is an ancient Pokemon, so that lets us get those ever so crucial energies out of the discard and onto Raging Bolt. Then we're running 2 Nest Balls, but I'm going to add 2 more. Because these let us get our Pokemon straight from our deck onto our bench, ready to be played, which is very convenient, especially because we're mostly running basic Pokemon, and the Nest Ball only lets you use basics. We're running 2 more Ultra Balls for a similar reason. These let you search for any Pokemon, for example, if we haven't pulled our Garganacl yet and needed the energy support. And it also discards 2 cards in order to use it, so that can help us get more of our energies in the discard pile. We're running 1 Boss's Orders along with the Prime Catcher so that we can get our opponent's support Pokemon into the active slots in order to, knock them out. Then we're running 2 Ancient Booster Energies in order to power up our Raging Bolts with 60 extra HP and not able to be affected by status conditions like being asleep, burned, paralyzed, confused, or poisoned. This just helps out a lot with taking less damage overall and being able to attack more reliably. Next up, we're running 3 earthen vessels. These let us discard 1 card from our hand and search our deck for 2 basic energies. This lets us get our energy cards out of our deck and into play so they're ready to be used. Then, kind of like the boss's orders, but for our Pokemon, we're running 2 switch items to make sure we can get out our Pokemon into the active spot in the order that we need them. For example, if someone used boss's orders on us and brought out one of our support Pokemon to the active spot, we wouldn't want that, so we would use a switch to get our attackers back into play. And I have 3 rare candies in order to evolve our Knackley into Garganacl, because if you, with keen eyes in the audience, noticed, I did not put any of the Stage 1 Pokemon in the deck. This is because, as you can read here on the card, it lets you choose one of your basic Pokemon in play and evolve it straight into the Stage 2 Pokemon from your hand. This allows us to skip Stage 1 and just make the evolution process a lot faster. Last but not least, we have a superior energy retrieval. This functions kind of similar to Garganacl's ability or Professor Sada's Vitality, which lets us get up to 4 basic energy cards from our discard pile into our hand. This is very useful for stuff like getting back the grass energies that we've attached to our Teal Mask Ogre Pawns and discarded. So now that kind of wraps up my deck. Let me know if you guys have any comments below, and in the next video, we're going to be trying it out at a tournament. Isn't that exciting? Yeah. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say, your thoughts, your questions, anything. And I'll see you guys next time.